Somatic and energy healing practices, I would say that it focuses on using the body to heal emotional pain, stress, or trauma. When we experience stress and trauma in the body, those feelings don't just stay in our mind, they get stored in the body. So I typically
Whoa.
tell clients that trauma is, yes, an event, but it is also stored in our body as an emotion, an emotional experience.
Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. Int Joy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. Hello, we are in episode 92. Why talking isn't enough, the healing your body actually needs. And I have a special guest here that is therapist T. And you are a licensed professional counselor, founder and owner of Mentally Flourishing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here today.
Yay. So tell us more of who you are.
Okay, I am born and raised in Miami-Dade County in Florida. I got my master's degree at FIU in counselor ed, and now I am based in a hybrid practice in Georgia where I do walk and talk therapy and telehealth. I also offer telehealth in Florida and South Carolina.
Nice. All right. So you're all over. So
Yes,
we're talking about mainly here today things beyond talking, right? Because we go to therapy and we talk. And I always say in general, it's not like talking to a friend. You got to do therapeutic strategies like cognitive behavioral therapy,
yes.
DBT, those kind. But we're even talking about today beyond those therapeutic strategies, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I talk a little bit about how we can intertwine the two. I think talk therapy alone isn't enough, where we can integrate some of the practices and frameworks like brain spotting, where it's an approach where we're looking at the neurological brain spot while we're mindfully processing through the body, rather than just talking about maybe the distress or the traumatic event that happened.
Wow. And you're talking about brain spotting. Are you looking at imaging at the same time? I would imagine.
No, actually, with brain spotting, we use the vision field with a pointer. We start on the x-axis and we find the brain spot that is attached to the distress or the trauma, and we use the y-axis to refine that spot, allowing the client to drop back into the body and attune to the sensations that are coming up associated with that spot. So they're able to process without getting overwhelmed and re-traumatizing the body.
Wow. Well, that's cool. So, as we get into the somatic and energy healing, for people who have never heard of that, energy
Yeah.
healing, how would you explain it in the simplest way?
Uh, Somatic and energy healing practices, I would say that it focuses on using the body to heal emotional pain, stress, or trauma. When we experience stress and trauma in the body, those feelings don't just stay in our mind, they get stored in the body. So I
Whoa.
typically tell clients that trauma is, yes, an event, but it is also stored in our body as an emotion, an emotional experience.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
yeah, with somatic healing, we do practices like emotional freedom tapping and body mapping to help us tune to the body's cues, whether it's the tightness or it's the discomfort or the warmth that we're feeling in the body. We use those sensations to guide the body to release the stress or the trauma.
Wow, that is so cool. So I met someone several months ago. He actually goes by Josh Effect, and he's an energy healer. And around the same time, I met some Reiki healers. And it seems like I just
Mhm.
was meeting all these different energy healers around the same time. And they were at my event that I had, my book launch last October. And while he did it on me,
Mm.
I had a tough time relaxing my brain Not in the sense that I was anxious, but just in the sense
Mhm.
of, "Is this working? What is this doing?" And I just had like, "Shut up, shut up." I had to shut myself up,
Yeah.
to really make it work, but, he would, like, tap and do the things and say, "Okay, do you feel better? Do you feel cold? Do you feel warm?" Walk us through, like, that process, the fact that our brains need to accept what we're going through, what we're feeling.
Yeah, I often hear clients, talk about quieting the brain, especially when we start with, like, breath work or we do meditation work. Clients get the misconception that we're trying to silence the brain when in reality, we're just trying to accept the thoughts as they come up,
Mhm.
notice them, and allow them to pass. So the beginning stages of attuning to the body is difficult. Sometimes we're disconnected or it's really uncomfortable because we're thinking we're trying to sit with silence when we're accepting the fact that there are just thoughts like popping up and coming by. I talk a little bit about introspection. It's, allowing ourselves to be mindful of the sensations within our bodies. So we can use the breath work to kind of reconnect, refocus, get us back into the body and being mindful of those sensations as they come up, allowing us to look at the internal cues that are coming up, like hunger or thirst, or maybe our heart rate, noticing that we might feel pain there or tension there, or just simple activation.
Yeah. Okay, okay. All right. So as we get into this, how does the energy healing actually work? Like what's happening in our body when we engage in these practices?
Well, our body's going through quite a bit if we are disconnected from the body. First, we're learning to build safety in the body. We're opening up the body to be desensitized.
Mhm.
Typically, discomfort is coming from the anxiety feeling intense, so, like, the
Mhm.
emotional intensity of
Yeah.
the experience. So when we look at the introspection, we're allowing ourselves to reconnect with the body,
Mhm.
um, at the nuclear level, the nervous
Mhm.
system, and
Mm.
looking at how maybe disaligned it is, or, like I like to say, the emotional energy, the stuckness of that energy, and scientifically, it can get to the, uh how would I say this without being too clinical? We I usually show a body map to clients so
Yeah.
they can see the internal temperatures for each emotion, so
Mm.
they're a little bit more aware about what happens with the temperature changes. We look at composition words, how we would describe certain sensations, looking at the pressure that is coming up in the body. Are we noticing that there's flow or stuckness when we're breathing through the body and grounding? So a lot of it in the beginning stages is psychoeducation on the body
Wow.
system, the human system, a lot of mapping of the physical sensations that we're noticing, like the heart rate, the pressure behind the eyes, the tension in our shoulders or our lower back, things like that, and noticing how that connects to physical sensations, noticing how that connects to biological
Yeah.
concerns that could be coming up.
Yeah, okay. So I think with the psychoeducation, that's
Mhm.
definitely huge because it sounds like you're working through explaining what's going on, but then also getting them to be able to quiet their mind to be able to accept it because there's a level of acceptance there, right?
Yeah, there is a level of acceptance. So earlier when I was talking about integrating the talk therapies, I do a bit of a mix of act therapy where we look at the psychological flexibility a client has
Mhm.
and acceptance around the choices that they're making tied to like their values. So some of our sessions will look
Mm.
at maybe a sensation map or a sensation wheel to help them guide through their values and what's important to them, being able to ground in a purpose and accept that, okay, this may be uncomfortable. There may be some distress around this, but my value is important to me. So this is the choice that I'm going to make. Reteaching the body system that this isn't a danger threat, it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and imagine the older you get, the less psychological flexibility you get, especially when it's tied to those core values.
Yes, especially when we're not exercising the brain. The brain, just like the body, needs exercise. So, doing day to day, like reviews and reflections on what's important to you and the choices that you're making. And sometimes we have to look at this as culturally or at our identity level to also tie into our purpose and keep us kind of motivated, keep us driven.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. You need that flexibility mentally in order to accept what's going on. And really, with the energy healers I mentioned earlier, it's like
Mm.
you have to have that acceptance to be able to release the pain. Like, why are you holding on to
Mhm,
that pain? And he was talking about
mhm.
physical pain too. I know that you're
Yeah.
talking about the trauma, but you do the physical pain as well, right?
Yeah, I work with folks that have chronic illnesses due to trauma being stored in the body. The
Right.
emotional charge, connected with the traumatic event doesn't have a place to go, and that can get stored in tension in the shoulders, in the lower back, in the hips, and can kind of come through as the digestive issues. Sometimes I do see more of, like, anxiety and toxic stress with the digestive issues, but it does manifest in other ways.
So that goes right into that next question. So, how can unprocessed stress and trauma show up in our bodies? And what is the fastest way to release it?
Well, I think that also ties into some of the misconceptions about releasing, trauma and stress in the body and what healing looks like.
Mhm.
So, it's kind of a two-parter. I'll start with unprocessed trauma and stress and how it shows up in our body.
Mhm.
Typically, it manifests as physical sensations, the muscle tightness or
Mhm.
tension, headaches, pain that we notice throughout, like, our internal system,
Mhm.
and fatigue, exhaustion. It can show up as chronic tension in specific areas, kind of, I would show an energy map with my clients, how tension in our shoulders can be correlated to the burdens that we feel about our emotions or the burdens that we feel about responsibilities that we have towards like the world, let's say.
Mhm.
These emotional reactions that are disproportionate in our body system and our mental field or our
Yeah.
thinking brain, I like to call it, um,
Mhm.
is how it can show up in our behaviors or our reactions. Noticing that if we're dealing with chronic fatigue, we're probably not getting, the best reset in our nervous
Right,
system,
right.
and we might be more irritable, we might be more quick to, react than respond. So those are some other
Mhm.
ways, like, behaviorally, we can see how stress and trauma can show up. Um, the second part, releasing it fast. I think that, trauma, depending on if it is complex PTSD or, a single event trauma, it can be released through years of therapy
Yeah, it takes
because
time.
it does take time because there is that two-part component where we're looking at the relational aspect, building up, skills to understand and make connections to process the event versus the emotional experience, and
Mhm.
then we're also building up skills if there's, like, developmental trauma that's been impacted, if we're, looking at
Mhm.
complex PTSD. There's been a pattern of behaviors, a belief system that's been created, and a maladaptive coping skills that have been learned as a protective device. So we're working to unlearn and rewire and reset the body, the brain, and the entire nervous system. So I don't think that there is a fast, quick way,
Yeah.
but there are ways that you can be intentional about releasing stress and trauma from the body daily, as well as things that you can
Okay.
do weekly, classes we can take, and things of that nature.
Okay, yeah, so it's kinda like releasing little by little each day?
Yeah, especially because, some things I would refer to either a psychologist or your PCP, when it comes to toxic stress and the body's, constant or persistent state of being under constant stress, I should say, can impact, like, the nervous system, the digestive system. So getting some labs and tests done to see if there's high levels of cortisol, noting different
Mm.
chemical or hormonal imbalances as well can be helpful in what you're doing in that day to day, knowing if there's any
Mm.
supplements that you can be taking as well. So, not really a quick way about it. A lot of it is
Yeah.
researching and getting to know yourself, knowing your body system, and it being intentional about the practices that you're sprinkling in the day to day.
Ooh, I love it. That goes right into this next one. So what are those practices that we should be sprinkling in day to day since we can release little by little each
Yeah.
day?
Each day, I think some of the foundational things are daily check-ins. Getting to know the body system and knowing when we're in a functional state of, let's say, moderate functioning where we can get multiple things throughout the day done, noting where our energy levels start to dip and what activities take from our energy levels. Being aware of our body's physical sensations and what that cue is to you. Learning that body system through like body mapping and body sensing can be another way that you can add to like your check-ins or even practices throughout the day. Body sensing and body mapping are two of my favorite things. If my clients see this, they'll know a body mapping and me go down real bad because I think it is the foundation of learning yourself and becoming aware of your, uh, how can I say this without being clinical? Being that's always my thing. I am always very clinical in language, but it helps you, build up that connection and that embodiment of safety in the body. So, body sensing is, traditionally looked at through body scans. So, we're scanning from, like, the crown of our head to the base of our feet,
Like a
and we're
mental
taking
scan, just
yeah, like
kinda
a mental
thinking and
scan.
feeling and sensing, okay.
Yes, so while we're scanning, we're visualizing the body system. At this point in sessions, we've done a lot of work with body mapping so you can kind of see what certain things they've mapped out and made patterns for. Sometimes they'll have like a key of what certain sensations mean um, and what's related to in their internal nervous system. So
So
with
are there
body,
certain
yeah.
questions you're asking yourself when you're kinda working your way down and sensing? Like, are you just like, "Is something is do I feel tense here?" Like, what are you asking yourself?
Yes, sometimes we do a visualization guided in session where I'll have clients take mental snapshots of colors, sensations, textures, symbols that they're noticing as I call out, let's say, the crown of their head. Take your attention to the base of your back. What are you noticing at the tip of your shoulders? It's more structured and more guided, but we're having the client become aware and in tune to the body system, just noticing activation and what deactivation may look like for their body system with body sensing.
So did you say colors and shapes? Are they supposed to shout out the colors and shapes?
Yes, colors and shapes. Depending on what modality I'm pairing this with, they
Uh-huh.
will. So let's say we're doing brain spotting. During mindful processing, I will have the clients go through and share as much or as little as they'd like. It's very much following the client and leading to uh, the activation and the mindful processing. I ask questions like, what are you noticing activation? Where is that activation located in your body system?
Mhm.
Take a moment and notice if there's any tension, any
Okay.
pressure in the body. And
Okay.
then we do bring in colors sometimes. Afterwards, I'll ask them, did you notice any colors that came up? And then that'll lead us into like the body mapping, and I'll have them bring out their body map. And they'll take
Mm.
a few moments to color in their body map, put in the symbols that they've noticed.
You walk them
Um,
through it.
Sometimes with the symbols, I think it's really helpful to describe, like, pressure. Sometimes clients are noticing that there's, like, spikes, and this spike, it
Oh.
symbolizes, like, the pain that they're feeling in their back, in their lower back. It's prickly. So, sometimes clients will notice a, like, Brillo pad, like, things like that. They're symbols to them that
The
means
shape of the tension in their body.
yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
you can tell I am just a learning with everybody else. This is
Yes.
some good stuff.
And it's so wonderful because sometimes clients don't have, like, the medical words.
Yeah.
They don't know how to explain that the band that they're feeling, pulling in their lower back is like a disc, a dislocated disc, you know?
Oh.
But through body mapping and body sensing, they can understand that they're probably overcompensating. They're feeling stress in their heart, and they're feeling stress in, like, their shoulders, and they're overcompensating, putting pressure on their lower back, and it feels like a Brillo pad is stuck in between the bottom of, the spine in their lower back, let's say.
Wow. So how does it release? How do you release that?
Through grounding through the body, that's one of my
Okay.
favorite skills. It allows you to bring the flow from your breath work practice through the body, from the crown of the head down to the base of your feet. It The script brings in energy work and light work to also help with releasing and visualizing that stuckness or that point of tension activation in the body, pulling that light down and through the feet or the place that you feel the most calm, grounded. So pairing that with some resourcing skills that clients have learned prior to, learning to find the calm points in their body, learning what calm areas are associated with certain spaces within the body, and
Mhm.
grounding through that, bringing that energy and that flow downward.
Yes, that pretty much, super makes sense. Now, what are the biggest misconceptions about energy healing, and what do people get wrong? And then one of them you probably already said is, like, there's no fast way to get rid of it.
Yes, I think that's the biggest one, that there's gonna be one modality or one practice to release and fully heal, whether this is
Mm.
energetically or emotionally, mentally, physically. We have to take the time
Yeah.
to do the work and to allow the body to release, especially if it's been compounded periods and instances of toxic stress or trauma.
Now, what are some side effects to starting? And when I say side effects, I mean that lightly. For instance, a side effect
Mhm,
to therapy is that things can get worse, especially with
mhm,
PTSD. The more you talk about things, the more you create your narrative, you're going to start to feel worse. But over time, you feel better as you process it and incorporate therapeutic strategies. So, any
mhm.
side effects when you first start?
Oh, yeah, definitely side effects, and I think they're similar to when starting therapy. You're allowing your body, to reconnect. So if we've been shut down and disconnected from the body, that built-on awareness can be jarring sometimes. Noticing these shifts in, one leg to the next as you move your legs across the ground
Yeah.
or across your seat, that might be something you weren't aware of for the last 5 years, noticing that your breath and how it flows. So just being hyper aware, I think, might draw people away sometimes, or it could be like a side effect, unearthing things, unearthing emotions that have been stored or suppressed for quite some time, similarly with therapy. And I would think another one is possibly the way that you impact, like, your, uh, system outside of you. When you're
Mhm.
starting to learn and become more attuned to what safety looks like inside the body, you start to parallel that to your environment outside the body.
Mhm.
So wanting to, change maybe circles of friends or places that you hang out, things like that could be a side effect.
Yeah, and I can see someone who already has some type of severe anxiety, if they're being hyper aware of every little thing on their body, it can make their anxiety worse. I mean, how does someone get through that?
We do exposures. A big part of my
Keep
niche
going
is
anyway.
yes, a big part of my niche is OCD and related anxiety disorders. So we expose and modify our emotional experience. Every time that we're showing the body system that we don't have to go into survival mode because it's uncomfy, is a way that we modify that experience the
Mm,
next time and modify the belief system, noticing that the distress will start to come down and our tolerance will start to go up.
there it is. Just do it anyway. And that's what I
Yeah,
say to people. You may start to
you're
feel these
scared,
emotions initially, but
do it.
over time it helps.
Yes, and
Do
you're
you
teaching the body.
Yeah, you're teaching your body. Now, are there certain programs like, oh, for 12 weeks, or it's just kinda like they just go I mean, I'm sure some people do maintenance, like you said, it could take just years and years and years or decades. But is there any recommended time frame?
I say in the initial starting to learn your body, starting to do energy work, like a year of intentional
Yeah.
practice, and that could be with
Intentional.
a yes, intentional practice, and I would recommend that being with a somatic-based therapist, a Reiki healer, adding to that any group work that you can kind of support within your community. Things like that would be helpful, ways that you can kind of expose yourself naturally, going back to that exposure, taking yourself out to nature, getting really into grounding through the earth.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Any other nuggets that you feel like you wanna share with everybody about somatic healing and energy healing?
Um, some nuggets. I think that talk therapy and somatic therapy need to become one. If there is a way that we can integrate the both into a bigger practice and a way of like giving people information and resources on how to integrate that maybe either into their day-to-day life, um, I think that would be helpful. It's not necessarily a nugget, but it's something that I think would be, an inspiration to, people's practices or to adding on to
Yeah.
it. Any other nuggets I have is just listening to your body, creating safety in the body, and yeah, I think that's it. Creating
Yeah.
safety in the body.
I mean, I think that combined somatic and talk therapy is it's here. The Joss effect, that's what he does both. So,
Yeah.
yeah, for it takes the energy healers, either the energy somatic healers to learn how to do the talk therapy to do both,
Yes.
or the talk therapist to learn how to do it. So,
Yes,
what
I
does it
want us
take
all
to
to
be an
come
energy
together.
Yeah, so what does it take to be an energy healer? Like, how do you learn how to be
Yeah.
an energy healer?
Certificates. I did a lot of trainings. I did
Uh-huh.
one-off trainings here and there. I started with EFT,
Mm,
doing, freedom tapping. Then I went into meditation, and I'm currently in a essential oils and a Reiki training. They're
wow.
kind of like what I would say, continuing educations are for therapists, but they're just certificates based off of that subject.
And do you find yourself doing these daily practices for your own self now that you're learning so much more and it's helping you mentally?
Yes, I do. I do mapping every day. At least I try to map every day, and I've noticed that I am more in tune to my body system. At first, it was a little awkward. I did reap that side effect of just being like, "Oh, I'm noticing my heart beating right now. I'm noticing, like, the ground underneath my feet." That introspection and that awareness was jarring, but I think over time, it has helped me ground myself in things that I fear with business, with friends, with family, being able to vocalize and release my throat chakra. So I will keep up with the somatic practices and release stored energy throughout my body as I can.
That's really good, and, I mean, naturally, all of these things are always happening all the time, but naturally, we numb certain parts, like, for instance, me sitting right now. I mean, I'm not thinking about the way my butt is touching the chair, but as far as body mapping, then that intentionally makes me think about those things that are happening. So becoming self-aware. So I love it. It's just like teaching us to do the things that we're already doing or to pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah, pay attention to it, and it helps with us realizing when we are in that rest state, that digest state, to be able to release. We might notice that we had tension in the back of our neck, and we didn't notice that it aligns to the way that we're sitting in the seat. But as we
Yep.
continue to body map, we learn and we can use that information to release.
Awesome. I definitely learned some awesome information tonight. Now you're on Journey to Joy Live, Therapist T. What's your personal journey to joy been like?
Oh, it has been wonderful. So about 2 years ago, I started taking myself out on, like, self dates. I wanted
Hey.
to develop a relationship with, like, joy and pleasure. I'm very much a perfectionist, well, recovering perfectionist, and people pleaser. So I was like, "You know what? This year" I think it was like 2022. I was like, "This year, we are taking ourselves out on dates, and we are reorganizing the way that we start our mornings." So I start my mornings with joy and pleasure. It looks like a playlist by FKJ in the mornings and overlooking the lake on my balcony. That brings me
Oh,
so much
nice.
joy with my cup of tea in the morning.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yes, that is what my journey to joy looks like. Self dates, honoring joy and pleasure at the forefront of all of what I do, and being able to just revel in those little moments.
Fantastic. All right. So where can we find you? Your website is
Yes.
mentallyflourishing.com.
Yes, you can find me on IG as well. My business website is mentally.flourishing, and my professional therapy website is therapist.lpc on IG. I am also on Facebook, the same mentally flourishing name on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find me as well on, let me see, I think TikTok, but it is therapist.lpc.
Awesome. So similar to your Instagram.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Therapist T, for being on Journey to Joy Live.
Thank you so much for having me and for creating this space.
You're welcome. This has been an Enjoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through Enjoy Life, visit www.drenjoylife.com to request a consultation. I accept Aetna for Georgia residents, and out-of-pocket services are available for others. I'm licensed in Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Tennessee, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Illinois, Virginia, and Minnesota. Be sure to grab your copy of the Enjoyno on Amazon for $39.08 to help you on your wellness journey. And remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, may you continue to transform challenges into joy.